Hello, everyone. How is everyone? My name is Madeline. I run the education program here at Dribbble, so running our amazing education courses in product design and UI design. Hi, Lauren. I'd love to hear where everyone's joining from in the chat. I know that you guys have been joining from all around the world. Hello, Mohammed. And what time is it where you are joining from? We've got Texas, we've got Wisconsin. I'm joining from the West Coast of Canada. So it's early morning for me, or just starting my day. I've got my coffee. Super excited for this info session. So we've got an hour info session all about our 4-week UI design course. This is a new course and it's for beginner designers who are just curious about design, curious about learning UI fundamentals, curious about learning Figma fundamentals from some of the best designers in the industry. So it's a super cool course. It's super supported. The course includes weekly live mentorship sessions. I'm sure you've read about them. We have mentors from the best companies in the world, and you meet with them for 2 hours a week. You get feedback on your projects. So like I said, super supported by some design experts. You have video content that's filmed by Daniela Buffer, who is the MetaLab principal designer. He's going to be joining us today to walk you through the content of the course and answer any of your questions. In the course, you're also going to be completing a UI design project. So you're going to be completing a project to put into your Dribbble portfolio. You're going to be getting Dribbble Pro. You're going to be getting a Slack community, evergreen access to our course material. So a super amazing way to learn design and get your feet wet in design. So happy to have you here today to learn a bit more about the course, and so grateful for Daniela Buffer for joining us today to teach you a bit about the course, a bit about the functions of this live interactive event. You'll see a Q&A tab. If you have any questions at all, whether it's just about course logistics, whether it's about start times, whether it's about price, then put them in the Q&A, or about content of the course. If you have any UI design questions for Daniela, he'll be happy to answer them. There's an ability to upvote other people's questions. So you see the plus button. You could click plus, plus, plus. The more votes a question has, the more likely it will to get asked today. We'll have a few interactive polls as well. If you have any questions, feel free to email education@dribbble.com if you have specific questions about the course. That goes to our admissions, and we'll be happy to support you and help you. Education@dribbble.com. We'll put that in the chat. We also have a special discount code for you guys for the course, 25% off for the 4 weeks. So it's $599 for the whole 4 weeks, which is such a steal considering you're getting the live lessons. Yes, education@dribbble.com. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our course facilitator, the guy who's created all the course content for us, the principal designer at MetaLab, Daniela Buffer. So he focuses on product design, visual design, motion, interaction design, and his career's allowed him to work with some really big clients like Google, Sony, Headspace, Business Insider, and many more. We're super grateful to have him here today to teach you about the course and also to have him as the facilitator of our 4-week course. Without further ado, take it away, Daniele.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Madeline, for your introduction. I mean, you basically said everything, so I'll try to do my best and essentially give you a preview of what the course is going to be about, what we're going to learn in these 4 weeks. And I see there are so many of us, which is awesome, like more than 350 people from everywhere. Hey, everybody. And yeah, so I would love, before we get started, I know you're already writing where you're joining from, which is awesome, all over the world. It's kind of intimidating, but you know, it's great. I would love to know whether you all, like, if you're designers or what kind of profession you're in, right? So I would understand better, you know, if you're kind of looking to do like a switch into this design career and you want to understand a bit more about the UI design, or you're kind of already, you know, working as a designer, you know, maybe you're a junior, midweight designer, and you want to understand, you know, maybe my design process a bit better and how I get from like, you know, initial kind of research multiple phase to the very final bit of visual design, prototyping, and also design system. So there is a bit of everything: software engineer, graphic design, Squarespace creator, which is very cool. Many graphic designers, I see. So more like I think kind of editorial designers, right? And maybe you want to do a switch and understand a bit more of the web kind of digital product design world. There are some marketing students as well, UX UI, junior UX UI. So there is also like switching from architectural design, which is really interesting. Animators. Okay, so we have a bunch of professions, which is really cool. And also, I think if we want to start with an interactive exercise, actually, before I share my screen and I kind of give you an overview and a little preview of what we're going to do in the next 4 weeks. Yeah, there you see it in here. What is your design experience, right? Because I've seen that there is a bit of everything in here, from graphic design, from junior full stack developer, product designers, data analyst. So what is more or less your, whatever is your profession, your design experience. So I am a beginner. I have a bit of experience. I'm already a designer, I think, and then there's also 4% of I am an expert. So yeah, I think there is a good balance in here, right? From beginner to kind of bit of experience, and people that already work as designers. My journey 3 months ago of a designer, already a designer. So I guess most of you want to understand a bit better the UI kind of design visual process, because this is what this course is going to focus on mainly, right? It's just 4 weeks, so it's like a very condensed course where we will focus mainly on visual user interface design and how to kind of translate wireframes or initial mood boards into actual designs, and how to scale that visual aesthetic in a bunch of different screens, essentially how to create a design system, how to also use Figma to build out prototypes. So without further ado, after this introduction, I'll start sharing my screen now, because I want to give you a better understanding of what is it that we're actually going to do in the course. So I'll share my screen. There we go. Share. I hope you guys can see it. Yep, there it is. So learn UI design and Figma fundamentals. So in this 1 hour session, I'm going to first of all talk to you about the skills that you're going to learn in these 4 weeks. Not the skills that you need, because you need essentially 0 skills to enroll in this course. Is open and it's like basic UI design and also Figma fundamentals, which means that I'm gonna walk you through the very basics. And the first week especially is going to be around UI fundamentals and what is composition, what is visual hierarchy, how do I understand when I'm creating a good composition, how do I match typography and colors. So all these kind of theoretical notions that you need to know even before jumping into Figma. Like that comes a bit later on in the second week, and then second, third, and fourth week they're gonna be like purely practical, really understanding the softwares, really understanding how to put into practice what we learned during the first week, in terms of like fundamentals and principles as well. So, as I said, first thing, these are some of the skills, right? Not all of them, but some of the skills that we are going to learn together during the course. And one of the coolest thing, if not the coolest thing of this course with Dribbble is that I won't be alone. This, like, I created all the content, of course. You guys will see my face in the videos. But weekly, as you might know already, is in the landing page and everything. The big difference of this course is that you're going to have each week 2 hours with a mentor, so that you can, get guidance and feedback from the mentor. So that if you watch the first lesson, the second lesson, the whole first week, and you're not sure that you understood something from the lesson, you actually can get like specific guidance. Maybe you have questions about compositions, you have questions about visual hierarchy, or maybe you're not sure how to do your assignment. You are going to be able to not just have the 2 hours live session with the mentor, but also like after that, you will have a Slack channel where you can connect not just with the mentor, but also with other students. So you will be able to share your work, get feedback, and essentially just, make sure that you go all the way through the end of the course, right? And you stick to it. So about 1 or 2 hours, Daniele, actually, I'm answering quickly like a question in here of we learned is one of 2 hours with a mentor. And my recorded lessons are actually even more than that. It depends on the week. Like the first week is around like an hour and a half too. But then the other weeks when it becomes more practical and we actually, we really dig deep into Figma and how to use the software, how to create design, then it's going to be, I think, a couple of weeks they have like up to 4 hours of content. So in total, it's going to be, I don't know, 6-7 hours of recorded lessons plus the 2 hours with the mentors, live sessions every week. Yeah, so I hope I know that someone maybe has problem with the audio. So let me know in the chat, guys, if you can all hear me well. In case I need to refresh my browser, or maybe you can try to refresh yours and see if that fixes it. So let me get back to my slides. These are some of the skills that we're going to learn, right? From visual design to UI fundamentals, as I said, prototyping as well, directly in Figma. And while doing prototyping, we will also learn some of the motion principles. By motion principles, I mean like what are the best ways to create prototypes, right? So that we make them functional, but also like, we work with micro interactions and we make them like, we kind of elevate them, and Figma allows us to do that, which is awesome. Talking about Figma, we will learn Figma best practices, which means, when you're working on a visual design, where you're doing like concepting, or even when you're creating a design system, there are different ways of working with Figma, right? When it's like a free kind of creation session where you're just doing some concepting, then there is like, you can be more loose and you can just explore different solutions. But once you lock a design, then you need to kind of change and adapt the way you work with the software so that you're more structured and you can actually create a design system out of it, right? And nothing is like left around or everything is like super structured essentially. So again, these are some of the skills, but I want to give you again a course overview. And for each week, I'm going to show you a bit of a preview of what we're going to cover each week. So every time, sorry if sometimes I check the chat, I just want to make sure that you can hear me. I know some of you might have some issues. Again, you can try to maybe refresh your browser and that should fix it. And thank you also for people that are supporting, trying to, fix this issue for the other students. That's amazing. So, okay, course overview. First week is going to be introduction and UI fundamentals. Second week, we're going to do research and initial visual exploration. Week 3 is about locking the design aesthetic and then scaling that specific aesthetic into multiple screens. And then the fourth and last week is about design system and prototyping. Now, this is the overview, and then I want to give you like, again, a bit of a preview of like week by week what is going to happen. So week 1, introduction and UI fundamentals. I put like my face in there with the video because, as I mentioned, it's going to be mainly theory the first week, but not boring theory. I can promise you that, because the way I structured the videos, the way I structured the course, I kind of told to you about the principles, told to you about the fundamentals of user interface design, but I created like visual references. So it's not just me talking to you and you kind of just see my face and you don't really understand what I'm talking about. But in the videos, you'll be able to see a bunch of different visual references to really understand how these fundamentals then are used in UI design. For instance, if I talk about composition, I will show you some examples, and they're also animated, so you would understand the difference between like a bad composition and a good composition, and how then visual hierarchy, how does visual hierarchy work in all that, right? So I'll show you visual examples for each UI fundamental. So from there, you see we have composition, visual hierarchy, typography, colors, images, and texture. Using grids as well, of course. We're going to cover even more than that after we start working with Figma. We will cover the use of layouts, the use of grids, the use of the 8-pixel grid, how to create a structure, and how to, have your design kind of looking solid. And we're going to cover all that. But week 1, we're going to cover also a bit of atomic design, which, it's kind of about using grids and structure, and it's going to help us with design system once we get there. And then I'm going to share with you a bunch of UI resources as well, from like, this design language of IBM, of Google, and you can like learn a bit more about that, to like inspirational websites that you can use for like second week, where we're going to start doing some researching and mood board creation. And at the end, what I can show you actually is if I go in here, this is just a preview. So, you're going to have way more context about this, but essentially the assignment of the week one is going to be an app critique that you'll be able to do also together with your mentor, because in the first week, the mentor session is going to be around UI fundamentals. Of course, you will be able to ask as many questions as you want about UI fundamentals and kind of have a Q&A with the mentor. Plus, you're going to do this exercise to understand how other products, other apps are actually using these UI fundamentals, right? So I have an example here of a Spotify screen. Essentially, the exercise is going to be about writing down or even like recording yourself with Loom and talking about the screens and of whatever app you want to choose, right? And just describing like, okay, they're using composition here in this way because they're doing this or that. And essentially, this is just going to be the exercise of week one. And as you can see here, the best way to do that is actually to record a video for your app critique if you want to do that, because it's an exercise that you'll do most of the time. You do it during an interview, right? They might ask you to kind of choose an app and just do the critique in front of the interviewer. So it's really helpful to actually record yourself while doing that. But if you don't feel comfortable, you can just write notes in that's perfect as well. So if I go back to my slides, that's week one. But week two starts to become a bit more practical in a sense, because it's going to be about mood board creation and visual exploration. And we're going to start with like research and mood board creation, and we're going to use FigJam to do that. And I'll show you a bit of an example of what we're going to do with FigJam. Then we're going to talk a bit about the interaction design principles. So I chose to do this in the second week because it's important it's not part of the fundamentals, but it's important to know what we mean when we say interaction design before you actually start working with Figma, right? And then after we create our mood boards, we're going to do some initial visual exploration. So we're going to open up Figma, pop in there our mood boards and see how we can use the software, how we can really make the most out of this powerful tool to create unique user interfaces, right? It's all like an exercise also for our personal creative process. So that's, week two. And just to give you a bit of a preview, as I mentioned, research and mood board is going to happen within FigJam. So you will have this file, you will see the exact same file. And the cool thing is that you won't do this exercise alone, because it will be part of your first mentor session. So you will do this together with your mentor and, potentially a bunch of other students as well. And the idea is that you can like open up some resources. I also have a file with like a bunch of, use UI inspiration resources that you can open up and use this like websites to find resources. Of course, you will have a brief that I won't spoiler you now, but there is a brief, it's not random. And then based on the brief, you will start doing essentially a research, finding like the best, thinking about the specific brief, finding the best references, and then just dropping them in here, without having to organize them at the beginning. You just like drop most of the references in here, and then that's the first bit of the exercise, right? You can see on the right side, you have two mood boards, because the idea is to create two different mood boards and then to create two different creative concepts out of each mood board. So this is more or less what it would look like in the end, after you also collect the references and you kind of divide them in different buckets, right? Two different buckets, you can have three, you can have four, it's up to you, as long as they have like different visual aesthetics. So from each bucket, like I have two in this example, I have dark and sleek, which is this one here, and then I also have bright and stylish. From each bucket, you can create a mood board. And then you don't have to use, obviously, all the images. You can like just put hearts in the ones that you think are working the best, like this one in here, or this one here. And again, this is just an example, right? And then from these images, you'll be able to put them together and create two mood boards. And again, this is the first part of like the visual design process, or at least my visual design process. Like I never just start on Figma without doing this first. It's super important for me, like doing research, mood board, and just collecting references to create mood boards, right? So this is the first part. And then after that, if we go back to our slides, we're going to have an initial visual exploration exercise on Figma this time, not on FigJam. So if I go back here on the student file that you guys are going to see as well, if you're enrolled in the course, you're going to have this kind of view, where essentially these are the wireframes that everybody's going to have the same wireframes, right? But they're just supposed to be like a base for you to then play with and create your own design. And here you're gonna essentially copy and paste the mood boards that you have created in FigJam. And this is going to be your playground, right, for the two different visual exploration that you're going to do. And here, you know, I'm going to show you my process in the videos, how I use Figma, what are the best practices, and you know, the tips and tricks while using Figma. And then I want you to like take all that and then just do your own thing, right? Try to experiment as much as possible, come up with different solutions, and yeah, you know, like you don't have to do exactly the same thing of what I do in the lesson, right, in the course. This is an example to show you, obviously, you know, how to use Figma first of all, Figma fundamentals, and then how to translate them into actual design, actual visual exploration. It's mainly to really inspire you while I'm teaching you also, of course, how to use the software. So that's essentially what it would look like at the beginning. And then this is from my exploration, where I have the two mood boards at the top. And then from here, you know, starting from a couple of wireframes, you don't need to design all of them at the beginning where you're doing just a creative exploration. And then you would just explore, right? A bunch of alternatives based, of course, on the mood board that you have created beforehand. And then from all of this, the goal is to come up with two different concepts. Right now, I won't spend too much time in here. I just want to give you like an overview. But essentially, the final goal is to have two concepts. Concept 1 and concept 2. And the only way to get here is if we do the mood board creation first. So this is essentially the main focus really of week 2, starting to use FigJam, starting to use Figma, coming up with concepts. And then let me see if we have any questions already. Upvoting. Yeah, I'm gonna leave them actually for the end because I want to show you first all the preview for all the 4 weeks, and then, you know, I'm going to answer your questions in the end. Now, after week 2, we're going to start kind of refining what we've done in week 2, right? So we're going to have a bunch of exploration. They're not going to be like super tidy because it's more like an exploration phase, as I mentioned. So you don't even need to be that tidy because that comes after, right? Once you start refining the concept, once you start deciding which way you want to go, then, you know, we're going to do a refining and polishing phase of all the different screens. And after doing that, we're going to also scale this design on all the different wireframes. We're going to have like 5-6 wireframes that we need to design. It's going to create a user flow as well. And in the initial exploration, we're just going to use 1 or 2 of those wireframes. And once we lock that, then we're going to scale it on all the different screens. And we're going to see the best practices, the best way of doing that in a smart and efficient way. And again, just to show you a little bit of how all this is going to look like, this is like the empty state of week 3, right? We're going to have your final concept in here, which is essentially, you know, the mood board, the artboard here with the final screens. And then from here, we're going to create a type system, a color system. We're going to start creating components and modules that then we're going to move into the UI library and organize them into a UI library in week 4. And then here we have a playground for each of the different screens that we need to design. You know, splash screen, home screen, search, profile. Now I'm not going to go too much into detail about each screen because, again, you're going to have more context with the brief and all that. And then at the end, you will have essentially like 5 different screens, all from obviously the same visual aesthetic and the same visual design. And you will see how you can start from like 1 or 2 screens, and then with components and modules and styles, you can scale your design in like a super simple and quick way, right? And again, to show you how it would look like at the end, this is pretty much what it would look like. Now, I didn't do much exploration in the playground here because it was during the lesson, but you're free to use, all the space here. You can make this bigger, you can create more screens, you can do more exploration. Obviously, this is all up to you. Essentially, you have the artboard there, the type system, the color system. Now, you don't see the components and modules here because after you create them, you actually move them into week 4 and organize them into a UI library that I'll show you in a second. And then in here, you have all the exploration of the different screens, and you will end up essentially with like a visual aesthetic, a visual design that is clear, and it's final essentially, right? And this is like the bulk of week 3, and then the last one, this one here, is going to be about design system or UI libraries. I'm going to talk to you in the course also about the differences between a design system and a UI library, right? Is there a difference? What does it mean if I want to build a design system versus a UI library? And then prototyping as well, right? So we're going to create and structure a UI library from scratch and see how we need to organize components and modules and styles in a way that then the design is super scalable, in a way that we make it easy if you're going to end up this to developers or even to clients, so that they know where to find what. And then we're gonna also have some fun prototyping in Figma, as I said at the beginning. Figuring out motion principles. How do you use easing to make your transitions and interactions look like smooth. And again, I want to show you like a quick preview of all that. If you go in here, week 4 is going to, you will have a basic structure, for your UI library, but then you will have to fill up everything with your own content, your own styles, your own colors, your grid and margin components and modules. And then in here, you will paste the screens, your final screens, that then we're going to prototype in Figma. And to give you, again, an example of how the final design would look like, would be something like this, right? This is, again, what I've done in the course. It's just an example. I want you to take that and then make it your own, right? Follow the ground rules, follow like the design process as much as you can, and then just like, do something that is, again, your own, right? That feels like it's following your aesthetic as well. So you're gonna learn how to create all the components, all the variants, and how to really structure the design in the best way possible. And then in here is the prototype. So if you go to the prototype mode here, you can see all the nodes. All these arrows are called nodes, right? So it's essentially what happens when I tap on the CTA here, I go to the other screen, I do this, I do that. And I just want to show you a quick preview of this prototype to show you what you can actually achieve with Figma, which is not just like, normal static transitions or like a dissolving transition. You can actually do way more than that. So this is just an example, right? And this is all built in Figma, even like micro interactions when tapping on follow or when tapping on the card, discover now, we can play with the drag. So all these interactions here are built within Figma, and it's it's actually easier than you might think. So we're gonna cover that as well during week 4. And remember that I said it again, but it's very important. For each week, you will have this live session with a mentor, which is, again, it's like a big difference. It will make a big difference because it's not just me talking to you, and then maybe if you don't understand or if you're not sure about what I'm explaining, then you're just, that's it. Either you watch it again and maybe, you get it, or, you won't be able really to talk to anyone about it. But by having the live sessions with the mentors and by having the Slack channel and by being able to share your progress with the students and also with the mentors, apart from the live session, you will have a lot of guidance, not just from the lessons, but 360 degrees really. And I think this is what will really make the difference in the end, and what will really allow you to get to the end with like a final result that you're proud of. Plus, all this work is going to be showcased in the end. We're going to also show you how to organize your work into a case study, and we're going to use Dribbble case studies, the kind of new feature of Dribbble, to actually build a case study to show all the design process and the final result from the beginning, from the research, the moodboard creation till the final prototype, plus design system, of course. Yeah, so I want to stop sharing my screen. There you go. Because I know we have quite a few Q&A. So I think I'm a bit early with the whole presentation, but I think because we have so many Q&As, I think we can start with that if we all agree. Awesome. So there is the first one, which is like 33 upvotes. So it's definitely like the the main one. I'm curious if the content overlaps with the product design course with Jesse. So that's a great question, because there you go. Because the content doesn't really overlap. I mean, obviously some stuff they will overlap, right? Because we're both using Figma. We're both explaining the principles of design, but my focus is going to be UI design, while Jesse is more around product design in general, right? So it talks about UX, it talks about UI as well, but it also talks about user research and like user personas and other things that I don't really cover in this course. My course is really specific towards user interface design / visual design, right? And what I'm trying to do with this course is to give you a different perspective as well on how to create your own design process, right? Because when I first started my career, I didn't really know, a design process, right? I would just start, and hopefully something would come up in the end, and I would be like, okay, that's the final result. And I've done that for many years, and then at some point I realized maybe there is actually a better way to do that. And I started kind of talking with other people by finding courses, or like I had to do so much just to understand that there is a better way, while this course is to kind of cut through all that and just give you the better solution at the beginning, right? So there is a better way. There is a better way to create and structure a design process. There is a better way to get to the final result that you might see and you're like, oh, that's really cool, but how did you get there? So to get there in the best way possible, there is a process, right? And this is what I want to essentially like share with you during the course. Plus, of course, the fundamentals of Figma and all that is not just about telling you, oh, you need to do. This is what I do, at least this and that, to get to a really cool final results that you can then sell to clients, or you can like experiment with more creative solutions and all that. We're also going to cover all the Figma fundamentals. So at the end of these 4 weeks, in a way, you will feel even more ready to start the product design course with Jesse, because you will have already a strong base of Figma. No? You know what I mean? You will already know how to use it. So if you start then the course with Jesse, you would understand, when it's talking about user flows or like FigJam, or like how to kind of use plugins, you will already, know that if you followed my course. So that's the from Nova. Then we have Tejos that is asking, is 4 weeks?
Sorry, Daniel. I was just going to jump in and add some more sort of logistical context to this question, as it's such a good question. So Daniela's course is 4 weeks. Our product design course with Jesse is 16 weeks. And in the product design course, like Daniel said, you're going to be doing UX fundamentals. You're going to be going deeper into just the whole product design process from research to handoff. And then you also get 4 weeks of capstone projects. So in the 16-week course, you're going to be doing 3 big capstone projects. And then you get connected to hiring managers who are on Dribbble. So we'll send your portfolio around with the capstone projects you created to our hiring managers. So the 4-week UI design course, which we're discussing today, is sort of the intro course. It's for you to learn the basics, learn the Figma fundamentals, get really to grips with the UI, and then you're slipstreamed into the 16-week course. All graduates of our 4-week course are going to get a 45% discount to the 16-week course, which starts a week after the UI design course finishes. So this course is really meant for you guys to get your basics, learn the process of UI design, learn from Daniela, who's one of the best in the industry at UI design. And then once you graduate and you want to learn the whole process and you want to create your portfolio with 3 more capstone projects and you want to get hired and you want to learn all the career prep stuff and sort of get connected with hiring companies, you could then get 45% off our 16-week course in product design, which starts a week later. So that's how they're connected. But that's a great question. If you have any more questions around that, just email education@dribbble.com.
Thank you, Madeline. You explained it so much better than me. I wouldn't be able to do that. So thank you for helping out. Let's go back to the Q&A. So then we have Ekrem asking, will there be any kind of certificate after the course? I think you kind of covered that already, or?
Yes, so we're getting Emir Ayouni, who is a famous branding designer, a real OG on Dribbble, to design our certificates. You guys are going to get a certificate that's going to live on your Dribbble profile. You're going to get a badge saying that you've completed the Dribbble course on your Dribbble profile. You're going to be able to share your certificate on LinkedIn. And we're also you're going to be able to put it on your wall, something that you could be really proud of. It's going to be a beautiful certificate. You get it after this 4-week course, and then you also get another one after you've completed the 16-week product design course. So definitely worth attending just for the certificate. It's amazing.
There you go. So moving on. This is an interesting one actually from Joe Amos. Why Figma instead of Adobe XD? So I've been working with Sketch before Figma. I've been trying Adobe XD as well. I've been trying Vision Studio, and I think Figma is just the best in class at the moment. And the way is also like updating. It has updates constantly, and they're always trying to improve it and to make the experience better. Well, I don't see that happening as much, at least in other softwares like Adobe XD or Sketch, which is trying. Sketch is kind of trying to do that, but I just think that especially if you're going to learn UI/product design now, you should definitely start with Figma, because it's like the benchmark now. It's the best in class, and after that, apart from that, it's just the best software out there to design interfaces. But that doesn't mean that if you want to, talk about this a bit in the course, like when I do an introduction about the softwares, right? We are using Figma, but that doesn't mean that you can't use Adobe XD. Some of the things that I explain and that I teach in the course are, of course, we talk about Figma, so it's about Figma fundamentals as well. But some of the design thinking and process is something that you can apply to whatever software you use, right? Even like just a piece of paper with a pen. So yeah, I hope that this answers your question. Then we have Ben that is asking, is this UI course centered on app design only, or does it cover website design alongside? So that's a good question, Ben. It's actually centered on app design. So it's like UI design for applications, right? We're not covering websites because it's almost it's not a completely different game. Like the skills that you learn from designing an app, that you can definitely kind of twist them and adjust them so that you can design a website. But designing a product, designing an app requires a kind of a different mindset that is also a bit more technical sometimes. So you do need to have a specific set of skills to kind of design an app. Well, for the website as well, but it kind of allows you more freedom too, which is good and bad, right? It's not like it doesn't mean that it's better designing a website because you're more free. You're as free when designing an app or a product, but it's a bit more challenging because you do have like some constraints, you do have some requirements that you need to think about. You have those in a website as well, depending on the website. But a product is something that we use every day on the phone. It's not really like a website. Usually is like marketing page or pages for to sell then the product. Well, the product is the actual uh, is the actual product that we're going to use. I repeated myself, but I think you know what I mean. So yeah, just to answer your question, is focused on app design, but then you can definitely like use these notions for websites as well. Pretty sure. Then we have Nat that is asking if this is this recorded. So if you're asking about this specific session, I think so. It is recorded. And then, of course, if you're asking about the lessons in general of my course, they are recorded as well. And so they're going to be, you can consume them at your own time. Whenever you have, you don't have to do that on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Like whenever you have the time to see the lessons of the specific week that you're on, you're going to be able to do that. Then again, Figma or Adobe XD, there is like it's a recurrent theme, this one, apparently. As I mentioned already, I think Figma is better. Not to say that Adobe XD is bad, but I think Figma is top in class for sure. In the course, we will learn about UX or only UI. So, of course, UX and UI are deeply connected, right? So you never talk about just UI or just UX, or especially with UI, there is always some UX. You always need to consider some UX. Although this course is definitely focused on UI, which means coming up with a visual direction or multiple visual directions, understanding how and understanding, first of all, if the visual direction is fitting whatever the brief is, whatever you're trying to communicate, and then scaling this visual direction on multiple screens, right? And doing that in the best way possible using Figma. But while doing that, we will definitely like touch upon some core UX concepts for sure. So we will talk about some UX principles. Then Danisha is asking if it's a daily class. So it's not a daily class in the sense that you will see which is 2 hours, and that's gonna be live. So recorded lessons plus live sessions plus off sync as well with your mentor and other students. Then VD is asking if you will cover animation. It will, just in the end when we will do the prototyping part. You will cover animation. I mean, you've seen the prototype that I've shared, right? It's not proper animation. It's like animation / interaction for products. So if you need to test, if you're working on something and you want to do some testing, or if you just want to, play around with Figma and understand if like the transition / micro interaction that you have in mind is like the right one, then we will cover that part. And I say that it will cover a bit of animation because we will talk about some basic principles of motion design, as timing, easing, how to use them together, how understanding the curves. So easy in, ease out, easy in and out. We will cover all that. Of course, it's just gonna be at the end once we reach the prototyping part, and it's not gonna be like covering a lot of ground around animation, but it will give you some core notion, a base around animation and motion for sure. So let me answer a few more questions since we have time. Rebecca is asking if we will still have access to the recordings, Figma accounts, and resources after the class ends. I'm pretty sure you will. The class, you wanna take this away, Madeline?
Yeah, totally. So if you join any of our classes, you get lifetime access to the course. So you get all the video material, lifetime access. You get access to the course after it's finished. You'll also be given a free Figma Pro account. So you'll keep that Figma Pro account and you'll get access to all the Figma sort of assignments that you've created during the course. We also have a Slack community, and you'll be able to, that we keep the Slack community open after the course finishes as well. So you'll be able to network with everyone on Slack in the course, during the course and after. So for sure, you get a lot of support after the course, and you still get access to the material.
All right, thank you for that. So let's do a few more questions because I've seen that there are many, and I think it's worth answering as many as possible so that I can try to give you like a very clear overview about the whole course. Okay, the price for the 16 weeks one course, I think, there you go, she's back.
I'm back. So the price for the 16-week course is $3,999, so $4,000 full price. That's 16 weeks. You get really in-depth teaching, you get your mentorship sessions, you get connections to hiring managers where we support you into jobs afterwards. And if you come to the UI design course, you get 45% off the price of the 16-week course. So you get $1,800 off the 16-week course if you come to the 4-week course. Like I said, we've got 25% discount for you guys just for this 4-week course, which makes it $599. So a super good sort of slipstream deal for you.
There you go. So let's do a few more questions. So the 4-week UI design course includes an intro to UI. The product design course entails in-depth material about both UI and UX. Yes, I think you got it. That's exactly right. This 4 weeks course is mainly around UI design again, and it's an intro not just to UI but also to Figma, and also to visual design. In general. Again, we will cover UI design for apps, as I mentioned earlier, but that doesn't mean that you can't apply those concepts and or those principles also in websites or even installations or other digital experiences, right? But yes, in this specific course, we will focus on UI for apps, and then as you said in the product design one, you will have it's a longer course as well, so you'll have way more content also around UX, right? So yeah. Then we have Paula, which this is a very interesting question. If my mentor will adjust to my available schedule and time zone, how will the mentor session be set up? So I think that it depends. I think Madeline definitely can help you, can give you a better overview of that.
Thank you, Daniela. So when you register for the course, you are able to choose what mentor session time you want. So you choose the time of your mentor session. We have mentors from all around the world available at different times, and we match you with a mentor who is available at your time. So if you want to do 8 a.m. in your time zone, we'll give you the mentor session at 8 a.m. in your time zone. If you pick 10 p.m. in your time zone, we'll give you that mentor session. So it's super flexible and we work to your schedule. You get to choose your mentor session time when you register for the course.
After completing the course, will there be help and resources given towards finding work within the field? So after, I don't think I don't think so. But what you will do at the end of the course is creating as I mentioned before, I think a Dribbble case study together with your mentor as well, right? So you will give, you will have enough guidance to create something that is compelling. That is essentially a case study that then you can share, with potential clients or agencies even to kind of get out there and find a job. Or again, it's as we said before, this is a really good introduction to the longer course as well, the 12 weeks one, right? So if you feel like you're not fully ready to commit to that, maybe you just want to understand a bit better if like this is really something that you want to do, then with 4 weeks is definitely less commitment. You can do this course, see if this is something that you're interested in, and then you can do the 12 weeks one, which will kind of cover all that. So yeah, hope this answers your question. Then I'll do a couple more questions. Sarah is asking, so I'm currently studying web dev. Is this course going to help me gain experience in web design? Also, do you think having both skills, web dev and or UI UX, will give me an advantage in the job market? Absolutely. I think this is a great question. I think if you are have skills in both like UI UX and development, then you're already like a step ahead. Many designers, they do know a bit of like dev, but you don't necessarily need to know. You don't necessarily need to be a dev, right? So if you do have more skills there, it's amazing. And I think there is obviously they're like strictly connected, UI UX and web dev. So to answer your question in the shortest way possible, yes, I think it will give you an advantage. But I also think that at some point you probably need to kind of understand if you want to focus more on UI UX or more on dev. It doesn't mean that you need to do just one and you need to completely abandon the other one, but to really try to really like succeed and try to do the best that you can. I think you do need to focus on one or the other. So yeah, but yes, it does give you an advantage. Let me see if there is another question that I can answer here that is that gives like some interesting context. Mentors, well, how many hours? Okay, I think this is an interesting one from Jeannie, which is asking, with the educational lessons like meetings with mentors and time to work on projects, so many hours on average a week will this course require? So the meeting with the mentors are 2 hours. So 2 hours per week, you have the live sessions. And then depending from the week, like week 1 might be a bit shorter, week 2 maybe it's a bit longer, week 3 maybe is a bit longer. So it depends on the week that you're in. But more or less, I would say up to from 2 to 3.5 hours of video content per week. But again, the good thing is that they're recorded lessons. So you don't have to see all of them at the same time, or you don't have to see all of them in the week that you're in. You can, recover them after if you want to. The important thing is that I think that you join the live sessions, though, even if you didn't watch the whole lesson, right? You can do that after. You would get the same context anyway. So it is, of course, like for 4 weeks, it is a commitment, but you can take your time. The important thing is to join the 2 hours live session. And then if it takes a bit longer to complete the whole course, to see all the videos, I think that's completely fine. As long as you do that, as long as you kind of get till the end, then if it takes 4 weeks or a bit longer, you will have the content in there. It won't disappear. So yeah. And will this course cover file naming conventions and layer naming conventions in BEM style? It will cover when creating the UI library. It will definitely cover a bit of that. Again, the main focus of this course is kind of touching a bit on UI library design system, touching a bit on prototyping at the end, but it's mainly about building a design process that will allow you to come up with creative concepts essentially, and then scaling those concepts. But of course, the layers will be the naming of the layers will be won't be like random essentially. So we're covering a bit of that. We're not going super into depth about how to correctly name everything, how to correctly structure everything. But yes, we will cover that for sure. I think I'm gonna answer a couple more questions if that's okay. Let's see if there is something that we didn't cover. So let me go up. Okay, I think this one, what is the main difference between being a UI UX designer and a product designer? So I think a product designer is kind of someone that is also a UI UX designer. The difference, I would say that a product designer is also covering other aspects of design that come even before you start working on a wireframe or working on a visual design or whatever, right? The product designer really needs to understand um, the, it covers also like more research, if you know what I mean. It covers like really understanding the problem and what you're trying to solve and how you're trying to solve the problem, which is also like something that UI and UX designers can do, but it's more maybe UI UX designers are more like focused on creating user interfaces and creating, of course, using experiences, and they kind of come after all the research and the UX research phase and all that. Well, a product designer usually kind of tries to cover everything from end to end, from the start till the very end. So yeah, I would say like UI UX designers are probably more focused on specific parts, specific like sides of design, while the product designer is a bit like covering a bit of everything essentially. Let me see. I'll answer one last question, something that we didn't cover yet. Okay, Gabriel is asking if it's important to have previous drawing/design experience. No, it is not important, because in this course we will cover the basics of design really, and we won't really. It's not important to have drawing experience, because we want, if you want, you can, but we won't really use pen and paper. It's going to be mainly about using Figma and FigJam. And for the design experience as well, the whole first week is going to be about UI fundamentals, and it's going to be about teaching you those core notions that you need to know before you even open Figma, right? Like, you open Figma once you already know more or less how to recognize a good composition, how to recognize, the visual hierarchy of a specific screen, or why this color is working well, or why this type is not working very well with like this other type. So these are all things that we're going to cover in the first week, and they will give you like the knowledge that you need essentially to then feeling comfortable in even starting and trying to design something on Figma. So yeah, we'll start from scratch. So no need to have previous experience. Absolutely not. Yeah, I think we're good. We answered a lot of questions. I hope that it helped kind of clarifying a bit what the course is going to be about and what we're going to cover week by week, and yeah, and all of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me, guys. I'm sorry, it's super hot here with this heat wave in London, so I'm like, I'm trying to keep up, but yeah, like hope that was helpful.
That was super helpful. It was amazing to see the week by week breakdown of the course and to see the Figma assignments that students are going to be doing. Super inspiring. I can't wait to jump in. I've seen the video content that Daniela has provided, 2 hours a week plus video content, and it's so good. It's so detailed. You're supported the whole way. It's really really like expert led. So thank you for creating that video content, and thank you so much for facilitating this 1 hour live session and answering all the questions. Super duper helpful.
Absolutely.
We'll say goodbye to you
Absolutely.
now, and I've got
Pleasure.
a few wrap up things to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Massive thank you for Daniele. Hope that you guys have an amazing day. We're going to be sending around a recording of this live session for you later today. We're also going to be sending around that 25% discount link. So it's going to be $599 for you guys. Special discount that's going to be extended. So make sure that you grab that. You've got 2 hours live of mentor sessions. You've got the Slack. You'll get given Figma Pro. You're also given a Dribbble Pro account. You've got live weekly expert sessions. You're creating a portfolio piece. You're getting to dive into UI design and Figma fundamentals. And then you get 45% off our 16-week product design course, where you get that UX, you get the career prep, and you get the connection to hiring managers. So an awesome course. We really can't wait to see you in it. Look out for the email that I'm going to send you later today. If you have any questions, email education@dribbble.com. That will go to our admissions team and we'll answer any of your questions. But really can't wait to see you in the course and see you in the Slack group. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have an amazing time. Reach out with your questions. Thank you, Daniele, and thank you everyone for coming to this session. It's been awesome. We'll see you soon.